Good afternoon, everyone. I am Maya Luria with TMC for Seniors, and today I am excited to be able to share with you all about cybersecurity with Amy Hughes. Amy is actually part of our Tucson Medical Center IS department. She oftentimes comes out and she helps us at our Cyber Seniors program. We always do a special class that highlights cybersecurity. And so I thought in this time during COVID, and we have so many online classes, that it would be important to start sharing with everyone what you need to watch out for when you are online. So please feel free to go ahead and leave any comments that you have in the box. You're able to do that, and we will get to those questions at the end. And meanwhile, I'm going to let Amy introduce herself, and we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here, Amy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. So my name is Amy Hughes. I work at Tucson Medical Center. I work in the IT or Information Services department, and I'm the lead for our education team. So what I'm going to be going through today are some tricks and tips on how to spot kind of the bad guys out there on the internet. The internet's a wonderful place. It lets us talk to family. It lets us get services we need. But with any good, there is always a bad. So what we're going to go over is kind of what those bad things are. And I'm going to give you guys some tools on how to identify when you might be a victim or when you might see one of these bad things out there on the internet. So the first thing we're going to go over today is phishing. And this looks like it's spelled a little bit weird, but we'll get into a little bit more detail why. Then we're going to go over online privacy and social media. And then we're going to talk about secure web browsing. So how you can make sure the websites you visit are safe. So phishing, this is kind of a long definition, but it's a very good one. Phishing is a fraudulent attempt to obtain sensitive information or data, such as usernames, passwords, credit card details, and I'm going to add to this your date of birth or your medical records as well. And they do this by disguising as a trustworthy entity in electronic communication. This is typically done by phishing emails or email spoofing, instant messaging, text messaging, and phishing often directs users to enter personal information into fake websites. And these websites are very, very good. They look exactly like the real thing. So phishing is kind of tricky, and to be honest, phishing is kind of mean. These are things that I kind of talk to my daughter about, who's 4, and the things that really get her and make her respond. And the two big ones are urgency and fear. What phishing will do if you get a phishing email is they try and trigger these emotions, these really strong emotions that we have, so that we don't think. We're all smart people, but they aim these emails so that we don't think and we just click. So an example of an urgent email that would come in that could be a phish is they're telling you you have to do something in a very limited period of time. You have 4 hours to reset your password or else your account will be locked. You have qualified for a free cruise or for a cash gift, but you have to enter your bank account information and your name in the next 30 minutes. Things like this prompt us not to really think and just to react. Another big one is fear. There are a wave of phishing emails out there saying that your Medicare benefits have been canceled. That's scary. That scares me. So I'm not going to think. I'm going to follow the instructions they give me because I don't want to lose my benefits, and it's going to take over my more logical side, and I'm not going to sit back and look at it. The other two we have listed here are greed and curiosity, and these kind of go hand in hand. And the slide says greed, but what it really is trying to get something at a discount or get something for free. An example of this was actually someone in my department, and TMC sends out phishing emails. We're sneaky. We test our employees, and that's just to make sure they're keeping all of the medical records that live within TMC safe. So we sent out a test phish email offering free donuts to the first manager or director that replied for his department. And our director replied. And he wasn't being greedy for himself, but he really wanted to do something nice for us, and it got him caught. Next thing I'm going to show you is an example of what a phishing email looks like. If you look at this email, it's from the IRS. It's talking about your return, and you need to do it now. You're going to see this email, and you're going to want to reply. And this is triggering that urgency and fear reaction. But as we move forward, there are some things you can see that are going to be indicators that this email may not be legitimate. The first one is look who sent it to us. It says irs.gov, but it's coming from goodgod@sunlink.net. Most likely our government isn't going to send us emails from an address like that. They're going to have a standardized address that's not going to look and have weird things at the end. What they're trying to do is pretend they're the IRS, but they can't send from the IRS domain, so they have to send from something else. The next one is this is addressed to Dear User. These phishing emails go to thousands and thousands of people, so they don't have time to send them to everyone by their name, so they'll use a really generic greeting. They're going to use Dear User, Dear Sir or Ma'am, to who it may concern. This is another flag that this email may not be intended or may not be coming from the source you think it is. If you think about it, if you get an email from your bank, they know your name. The people sending these phishing or these email spoofings do not know your name necessarily. The next thing you see is a link that says confirm your account. Now this is kind of scary because if we were to click this link, it's going to take us to a website that looks legitimate. If it's from your bank, it may take you to a website that looks exactly like your banking website, but it's fake. They have built a fake website that looks exactly like the real website, but in the background, they are gathering any information you enter, your username, your password, your accounts. And we're going to look a little bit later in this presentation on how we can tell when a website we go to is safe or if it's not. And the last thing we see in this email is it could lead to a fraudulent attack. That's going back to that fear and urgency. It's trying to get us to react without thinking. It's trying to scare us. Another common way that there are phishing attacks is you'll get them by phone. Telephone scammers try to steal your money, your personal information. They may come from real people. They may be robocalls. Or what I've seen a lot recently, and I'm going to show you an example of in a minute, are text messages. They will make false promises, opportunities to buy, invest money. They'll often offer you free things, free grants or lotteries. They may call and make threats. There was one going around Arizona a few months ago where they were calling pretending to be the electric company. And if you didn't give them your bank information, they were going to shut off your power. This was a phish. This was a scam. If you get something like that, never ever provide your information over the phone. Hang up the phone and call back the facility that's calling you at a number that you know is legitimate. Verify what they told you. Also, the electric company is never going to call you and threaten to turn off your power right away like that. Kind of those indicators for those increased fear and urgency, we'll be on the lookout for those. So the next one I'm going to show you is actually a text message I received in the past couple of weeks. And this text message says, voicemail parcel sorting center, found package addressed to Adam, last pickup day is Friday. So I saw this, and first, my name's Amy. It's not Adam, but my husband's name is Adam. And they are trying to get me to click a link that has nothing to do with the parcel sorting center, not UPS, not FedEx. That link is very suspect looking. There's nothing in it to identify where I'm going. And then that last pickup day, Friday, it's trying to scare me. It's trying to get me to react right away so I don't stop and think about it. This is a phishing text that I received. The next thing we're going to look at is what to do if we do receive a phishing message. be it via email, phone, or text message. The one thing we always say at TMC when we're educating our employees is don't click the link and don't open attachments. That is the easiest way for them to get into your system, get into your phone, and get into your computer. An attachment would be maybe a picture or a file with a little paper clip that comes with the email. And what that attachment can do, if it's got malicious intent, is it can download a virus onto your computer that will record your keystrokes and gather all of your usernames and passwords. Links, like we talked about earlier, can take you to fraudulent websites that look like they're legitimate, but in reality, they're not. So when in doubt, throw it out. We went through an email and saw some of the indicators to what might trigger that an email isn't legitimate. Another big one you'll see is they will have misspellings in them, or they'll have grammatical errors. If you see an email that looks weird, even if you think you knew who sent it, throw it out. You can always contact that person via communication you know is secure, an email address you know, or a phone number, and verify what they told you. If you get an email, say from your bank, or a text message from your bank, and you're not quite sure about it, contact the company through a known, published communication method. If you have their phone number in your phone or you have it written down, call them at that phone number. If you have their website saved as a favorite, go to that website and verify the information. If you feel like you've fallen victim to a phish and you've opened a link and you clicked on an attachment, you can always reach out to the facility and let them know that these phishes are going around. You can also get tech support if you feel like there's something on your computer. If you've been part of a phish and money has been involved, you can contact law enforcement and they'll help you. The next thing we're going to go over is social media. When I talk about social media, I'm talking about Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. There's a lot of them and I don't know them all. But the one thing to remember with social media is there's millions and millions of people on social media. And as soon as you post something to social media and your friends see it and their friends see it, or if you don't have your settings set to private, then millions and millions of people can get access to that information. So be aware of anything you post online, be it a picture or information that you're traveling, maybe going on vacation. These are all things that unfortunately the not so good people on the internet will use to victimize you. Same goes for your family. This is a picture you'll see I have here. This is my daughter, but it's not showing her face. And I didn't post this on social media because if I do, and one of my friends likes it and they share it, and somebody there sees it and they share it, her picture is now out there with thousands of people I don't know. And I feel uncomfortable about that. The next thing we're going to look at is owning your online presence so that you can have those security settings I talked about earlier. Every social media or anything where you share on the internet is going to have privacy settings. Be familiar with these. Go in and see who exactly can see your information and who can share your information. And it's okay to limit it. It's okay to limit what you do on the internet just to your close friends and family. It's about you, and you're protecting yourself and you're protecting your loved ones. Another big part of that protection is your passwords. And I know we all get frustrated because our passwords expire and they have to be complicated and we can't use the same one again. And they need special characters and they need numbers, and it's hard. It is incredibly overwhelming to set those passwords. I use a little trick when I set my passwords. What I'll do is I'll create a sentence that makes sense to me. So I have always shown horses, and when I was younger, and my daughter's doing it right now, we show Arabian horses. She's walk, trot, lead line. It's very cute. But I love Arabian horses. It's something that is very special to me, but it's a fairly I don't know, it's kind of a complicated thing about me. It's not the name of my spouse. It's not the name of my kid. It's not the name of my dog. It's not something someone could easily find out about me if they didn't know me. So I can use that sentence, I love Arabian horses, but this isn't quite secure yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in there and I'm going to add some uppercase, I'm going to add some numbers, and I'm going to add some special characters to make my password truly secure. So what I've done is I've replaced the O and the O in love and the O in horses, and I've made those zeros. I replaced the I in Arabian, and I've made that a 1, and I put an exclamation mark at the end. This makes my password secure. This is going to be hard for somebody just to figure out, but it's going to be easy for me to remember because it's a sentence that's meaningful to me. We talk about passwords. We talk about passwords on our computers, but a lot of us use other devices as well, such as our phones or our tablets. So you have to look at passwords, and the other thing we see a lot are PIN codes, as the lock to the front door of your house. And you should do the same thing with your devices. That's the first line of defense about somebody getting to your personal information, are those passwords and those PINs on your computer, your tablet, your iPad, your phone. It's very tempting to want to turn those off, but if you were to leave it on a counter somewhere, if you were to forget at the grocery store, and you don't have that password protection on it, somebody can pick up your phone, go in there. If you have a banking app or email, text messages, anything else on your phone, they can instantly get to that information. So it is key that you have a password on every device that you use. The next thing we're going to talk about is secure web browsing. So browsing the internet is very similar to walking through your neighborhood or walking through a shopping area. If you want to go visit your neighbor or you want to go visit a store, you're going to need the address to get there. And websites have addresses that you're probably familiar with. For example, if you want to go to Facebook, it's www.facebook.com. But not all websites are equal, and some can be a threat. Websites have a mechanism in them to keep them secure. So traffic going from your computer to that website is safe. If they don't have the security feature in place, that information traveling can be exposed to hackers. But there's an easy way to make sure the website you're going to is secure. The two biggest indicators of a secure website are going to be the S after the HTTP at the beginning of the web address and the closed padlock at the beginning of the web address. If you click on that closed padlock, it should give you some information about the company that you're visiting and confirm that it is safe. So we talked earlier about links you'll find in emails that'll take you to web pages. If the web page isn't legitimate, there's a good chance it's not going to have the closed padlock and it's not going to have the S. So the email address we're looking at right now is the actual email web address for Bank of America. The next slide I'm showing here looks almost exactly the same, but there's a couple things missing. There is no S in this HTTP. There is also no closed padlock at the beginning. That means this website is not secure and is not somewhere that you would ever want to enter your credentials. So in summary, the internet is an exciting place and it's heavily populated, but just like any other populated area, there's good and there's bad. The key things to take away are to look out for phishing. Does it trigger urgency, fear, or greed? Is it coming from an unknown sender? Are there grammatical errors or misspellings? When it comes to your online privacy, be careful what you post and make sure you take ownership of your privacy settings and the apps that you use. And last, for secure web browsing, make sure you look for that S and you look for that closed padlock on any website you go to.
Thank you so much, Amy. That's great information. So I have a couple of questions for you. One is it secure? Is it safe to use an unsecured Wi-Fi if you're accessing, through your phone or your computer?
So ultimately, I would say no. And I'm guessing this is probably in relation to if you go to the airport or you go to Starbucks, you can get on their Wi-Fi, and that's technically an unsecured Wi-Fi. It does take some effort to get information from those sources, but there is a risk with using unsecured Wi-Fi. So my suggestion would be, if you're going to be sending transmission for sensitive information, such as your bank account or your medical records, to make sure you're on a secured network.
Okay, but would it be okay to be on something like that if you're just browsing, just looking at news or, that would be okay? Okay.
Yep, if you're just checking the news or browsing around, you're not entering any information, that's safer.
Great, okay. And what about, so I know it's super important to show that closed padlock, particularly with Amazon, anytime you're entering your financial information. And so I know that's such a great piece of information to share with everyone, just to make sure that you know the difference between those two. So I appreciate you sharing that today. And also with the phishing, I mean, I think we've all gotten an email maybe from someplace, some international place far, far away, asking you, pleading for money. I know I've gotten multiple over the years, and that scam has sort of been going around. So it is so important to make sure that we are diligent in making, in ensuring that we're not providing that information. So if somebody does and their computer becomes infected at that point, I mean, that could be an option. Is that right? Could their computer be infected, or is it just that they're going to be sending that information over?
It depends exactly what they do. If you open a link or open an attachment, there is absolutely a possibility that a Trojan or a bug has been downloaded to your computer. So if you have opened something suspect, you've opened that link, or you've downloaded that attachment, and your computer is acting a little bit weird, or you're concerned, there's a lot of tech services out there that can come and help you clear that up.
Oh, great. And is there any software that you would recommend as well that somebody might want to have on their computer, some sort of malware software to, if they were to get any kind of a virus?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great point. It's a good recommendation to always have an antivirus software on your computer. I've used Avast, I use McAfee. They're all fairly equal. They all do a pretty good job, but absolutely make sure you have an antivirus software on your computer.
And they're many of them are free as well, right? You can find a good free version of something out there.
Yes, there are free ones out there. I believe Avast is free. And just because they're free, they still do a good job, and they still are something you should use.
Excellent. Good. Well, thank you. I think that is all of the questions that I have seen come in today. Okay. I appreciate you being here today. You've provided us with a wealth of information on how to stay secure while you're online. And I know it's going to be very helpful for our viewers. So thank you so much for being here, Amy. And we will see everybody at our next event that is coming up later this week.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.